Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle Me. In my series Year 2020 Rick Miracle Report, this will be number 16. I'm on a roll today, 3 videos today. I want to continue talking about the mystery religion of Babylon. In the Contact magazine, that you can find free online at the Phoenix Project, the Phoenix Journals, 4winds10.com. So apparently from 1990 to 1999, the Phoenix Project was weekly publishing these magazines, collecting articles and data from people all over the country from 1990 to 99, 10 years. And it's just amazing to me that it didn't wake a lot of people up. So anyways, if you're paying attention at all to reality, you are aware of something called the New Age and global world order, news cycle. If you're Christian, you know a little bit about Revelation and Jesus Christ being crucified, killed, and the details. And if you're any other religion, you know that there are spiritual beings, and what you do in this life matters in the afterlife. So apparently there's one religion, or I should say one religion with many gods, called Gnostics and pagan, and apparently it's anti-Christian and anti-other religions. Apparently controlled by some fallen angels, archons, reptilians, gray aliens, demons, and insane beings who are into pansexualism, sex with anything, children, even animate objects, crazy as that sounds. And apparently it is in direct opposition to the people of the world, and they are in the process, and they have been for quite a few years, of changing the way we think, changing our paradigm, changing our reality. It takes a few generations, but finally it cycles through. And what people believed when I grew up, people being raised today in the school system do not believe that. And you can't convince them to believe it. And the evil powers have been in charge of the school system, the TV programming, books, publishing, newspapers, all the things that feed us information and control what we believe. So I'm going to continue reading this, and like I said before, I just like to start reading from it and then throw in my 2 cents. So there's this mystery religion of Babylon. Apparently an ancient religion coming from the Middle East, Babylonian area, Jerusalem, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. They have these big monuments, pyramids, and sphinxes, and big serpents on their head, and so much more. So a lot of people don't believe in magic, don't even believe they have a soul. So it's kind of hard to convince those people that there is a plan for a global world order. 911 was an inside job. Anybody watching any videos can tell that. Building 7 free fell. Silverstein, the building leasehold building owners, told the fire department to pull number 7, 40 stories, just free fell. So who are these people behind the scenes with secret societies and Zionism and witchcraft and Kabbalah? Even President Donald Trump had a Kabbalah teacher. His ex-wife wrote a book on the Kabbalah. There are books you can buy called Kabbalah Magic. Enough said? Get it? Got it? So apparently there are a lot of these organizations controlling our country in the United States and many other countries. The American Israel Political Action Committee is the most powerful and largest political action committee in the United States. I would venture to guess siphoning off half of the gross national product of this country every year, using it to buy up the entire world. They're stealing billions and trillions of dollars, maybe $1 trillion every year. Killing people, drones, the general over there in Iran, and so much more. But the worst is yet to come. So I think I need to read this stuff and share what I know and share what is said in this book. So apparently where I left off was the Israeli Prime Minister Perez had an ingenious idea to solve the problem about King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. Is he voluntarily wanted to give it to the Vatican and tell the Vatican they could have a second Vatican in Jerusalem and control the world. And apparently the Vatican bought that hook, line, and sinker and had been taken over by the evil forces already, just like here in the United States. 1933, we went bankrupt, and the banksters went into receivership and created a corporation, United States Inc., and they control us. We don't have apparently we're not operating under a constitution. And you can tell that when you go into a courtroom, there's a gold fringe around the flag. Go look up on the internet, get that gold fringe off the flag, and you'll get all the details. So the evil forces have control of our country and apparently the Vatican and many countries all over the world, if not all of them. So I left off where they were accusing the Vatican, the Christians, of being the cause of all of the Jewish people's problems for 2,000 years, because we were blaming the Jewish people for the killing of Jesus. But Jew, the word, wasn't invented until 1700. What was the names of these people, not Jew, it was invented in 1700, was the word Pharisee. These would be the lawgivers that controlled the temple in Jerusalem, King Solomon's temple, and Pharisees. And then the original Hebrews were shepherdetics, shepherd, get it? Shepherd, wandering in the desert with their sheep, shepherds, shepherdetic. And then Khazaria were Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Georgia, Poland, all that area, the size of the United States, was an empire called Khazaria with the Khazars, very barbaric people right next door to the Mongolians, Genghis Khan, who ravaged the entire world back then viciously. Well, the Khazarians, the Khazars, were just as vicious and bloodly related. They converted to the Kabbalah version of the Pharisees' witchcraft cult, a religion, belief, pagan gods, demons, beings. But they don't want you to know that. So anyways, they've told the church, we want you to have the Jerusalem for a second Vatican, and we need you to change the religious textbooks so it doesn't say that the Pharisees had Jesus killed, causing the problems for the last 2,000 years to the Jewish people. But the Jewish word itself, Jew, only was invented for this purpose, to have a category of all these people in the 1700s, when the Illuminati was created in 1776, the same year that the United States declared independence from Britain. But the British banks are the ones who created the Federal Reserve and the Internal Revenue Service and had a back door to retaking the United States and bringing us into World War I and World War II and killing millions of people. 9/11 killing millions of people in the Middle East. All part of this Luciferic, Satan, Moloch, Baal, Moab, revelation in the Bible, anti-Christian, anti-God plan. All right, now I can start reading from the page. So apparently, Mr. Isaac cared to dump with no apparent closer examination of the problem. Cardinal Bay worked very closely with the B'nai B'rith, another Zionist, anti-Christian, Jewish, Pharisee, Shepherdetic, Eco-Nazi group, the American Jewish Committee, and other international Jewish organizations. So the small handful of apparently demonic Moloch Baal demon worshippers control much of the world. In any event, it appears that the propaganda that the church had opposed over a long period the Jewish presence in Jerusalem because of their concern that the Christian holy sites might become inaccessible to Christians. This is the same type of argument held forth in former centuries to promulgate the Crusades and Holy Wars. Whatever arrangements went on behind closed doors, it appears that the Vatican is now to be given some power in Jerusalem. And this was back in 1993, this Contact magazine, 1994, November 15th, was discussing these things. And we know since then President Donald Trump has recognized Jerusalem as the capital, moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, and many other countries. Things are moving right along. And of course we have cell phone towers and artificial intelligence and all kinds of technical weapons that pretty much know who everybody is, where you are, and can send out radio transmissions to mind control us, or laser beams to kill people, and drones, or SWAT teams, etc., etc. Oh my. Anyways, this is the same type of argument held forth by former centuries to promulgate the Crusades, Holy Wars. Whatever arguments went on behind closed doors, it appears that the Vatican is now to be given some power in Jerusalem via administration of the old city where most of the religious sites are located, which include those of the Jews, Muslims, and Christians. But remember, the word Jew didn't get created until 1700s. Christianity went back 2,000 years ago, and the Muslim Muhammad was around 600, so that's 1,400 years ago. The Jews were called Pharisees, and their law book was the Kabbalah, the Talmud, which is very evil if you look into that. Yeah, there is a book called Kabbalah Magic, many books on Kabbalah magic. All right, back to this. What has been exchanged in the bargain is not yet known to me. It is clear that in order for the Vatican to be given the status, it must have come into very close agreement with the plan for a Jewish one-world religion. It is no longer at odds or a threat to the Jewish beliefs, and it can be of use to them. So there are evil forces controlling the Vatican, and they want to rule the world, and the Zionists want to rule the world, and the Illuminati, secret society elite want to rule the world. And they're all part of the mystery religion of Babylon, called the Whore of Babylon, or the Harlot of Babylon. And they have these gigantic owls, and they sacrifice humans to them, and so much more. The movement of a Vatican administration to the old city is only, I believe, another step in the process of setting up the one world religion. We see here also the results of the centuries of planning by the unknown superiors of Masonry, whose symbols, doctrines, and imagery directs all Masons towards an unchallenging agreement with a one world religion and government. And even Donald Trump and a lot of the pundits these days are no doubt talking about the deep state. And it's had many different names, Illuminati, secret societies. But apparently there are these forces controlling the politicians. They operate from behind the scenes. They are the real power. They bring us all these wars, all this death, all this destruction, all this thievery, ruining the economy. And they plan on making the next disaster a worldwide disaster. Things are being put in place. And I'll be talking about this stuff again and again and again. All right. They, in fact, are very likely to think it was their own idea. Unfortunately, some Masons are truly not knowledgeable of either Judaism, Talmudism, Islam, or Christianity. They have, however, been secretly and heavenly indoctrinated with the idea of rebuilding King Solomon's temple in Jerusalem, and with the docility following their superiors. So they blindly follow their superiors. We do not know the deliberations of the council, whose decision was reported by Israeli Prime Minister Perez in Jerusalem. Nevertheless, it does appear that all opposition between the communist, Zionist, Masons, certain PLO representatives, and the hierarchy of the Catholic Church has been suppressed or overcome. So even like in the United States from 1860, Abraham Lincoln and other politicians in the United States were opposed to the elites, Rothschilds, Illuminati controlling the money system in the United States. So they banned those elites from controlling our money. A couple presidencies were they attempted to murder a couple. They succeeded in murdering some and wound up regaining control over the American money supply in 1913. So they slowly, with their money, they put the politicians in office and went as far as murdering anybody who wasn't part of their elite society who might get into office, say a Christian, decent, honest politician. They would wind up being killed. Back to this dealing with the Vatican and Jerusalem and King Solomon's temple in this article, Mystery Religion, the Babylonian mystery religion. Otherwise, you can bet your boots the Vatican would not be allowed to administer the old city, and maybe they really are not intended to do so. This is 1994. So, they do deceive and they do bribe, and old men die and new men get put in place, so things change. But, I think the elite have something called trilateralism. The Vatican is a sovereign territory to itself, not part of Italy. The part of London, the banking district, is a sovereign country to itself, not part of Britain. And Washington, D.C. is a sovereign piece of land controlled by the United States Corporation, not part of the United States. And all three of these sovereign territories, the Vatican in Italy, the financial district in London, and the Washington, D.C., they're all one huge group operating together. FYI. So for detailed information and confirmation regarding the infiltration of communists, Zionists, and Masons into the Vatican, I have listed a number of references in the bibliography in this article. Only time will show the full plan in clarity. Once the Vatican's presence in Jerusalem is apparent or publicly announced, there is much to be gained by the Zionists. And like the American Israeli Political Action Committee, the AIPAC, the largest political action committee in the United States, they managed to pretty much get half of our gross national product, billions and billions, $1 trillion every single year. They're buying up the world and bringing us these wars, killing people. They will have their global world order. They will have their one world religion. And the people who oppose them apparently will be killed, imprisoned, brainwashed, beheaded. Oh my. But not to worry, if you believe in God and you don't choose a Satanist party, you can opt out and say no to Satan, no to Lucifer, and you are a human being, and all they can do is kill you. They can't take your soul. But if you join them, they have your soul. You'll never wind up free back out into the universe where we belong. And the real reality is the fourth dimension, not this manifested third dimension. For example, they can and undoubtedly will claim themselves, for example, a universal city and demand UN protection. This will be part of the strategy to get our servicemen assigned to protect Israel. So this is a 1994 article. And we all know that we've been in wars in the Middle East since then and before. And out of the U.S., something Israel has already requested. So it's so funny when you read what was written in 1994 and 1990 and earlier. I have books, and you're aware, cognizant of what's going on today. You can see that they've moved right along. In fact, they went so far as to demand that there is no congressional debate about it. So just like the drone taking out a general in Iran, or the recent treaty with Israel over Palestine that weighed heavily against the Palestinian people, and the 5G microwave transmission network, and the dumping of chemicals in our sky, and the artificial intelligence, which is going to make decisions without any human intervention. There's no congressional debate about it and no public input on these topics. They just pretty much ignore us. It is time to let your congressmen know loud and clear that America did not vote on the Vatican's decision, and we do not take responsibility for them or Israel. In fact, the Vatican cannot claim to be even representative of all Christianity, let alone Americans. What about the separation of church and state? Now think about that. Apparently in secret here in the United States, President George Bush Sr. and other presidents, all of them since then, have passed some religious law called Noahide Laws of America. They passed a law that if you believe in the wrong God, you can be beheaded. We're supposed to have separation of church and state according to the Constitution, but we're not under the Constitution. We're under corporate law, and the gold fringe is on the flag at the courtroom, and the judge does not have to treat you as per the Constitution. Once you recognize the court, he can have you sentenced to death on the spot for a misdemeanor. It's called martial law, admiralty law. Look it up. Look up, get that gold fringe off the flag, and it'll tell you all this information. I believe this move by Perez and his council will have a very disturbing effect on more than one group of people as it becomes widely known. Arafat, for example, the controlled media's propaganda to the contrary, no longer represents most of the Palestinians. Further, he has never represented all of the Muslims, Islam. What will be the response to the decision for greater Islam? They have, through their own holy book, denounced many Christians' church doctrines, and how will they like being administered by the Vatican? Can you imagine the Islamic people being forced to listen to the Pope by the Christians? And the Christians are 1/3 of the world's religion, at least back in 1994. But they are seriously reprogramming we people. And the amount of people who are Christians, they might call themselves Christians, is seriously dwindling. And after all these 20 wars in the Middle East, a lot of religious Islamic people are probably lost interest in their religion, starving to death and running and fleeing from rockets and bombs. It takes a little time, but you can create a Mad Max environment. And apparently these younger generations of Arabs are now being recruited for these military organizations, mercenaries, and even fed propaganda that's on our main TVs that we American citizens are the demons. Can you see it? Would they object to coming over here and killing everybody after what they believe all we American demons did to them when we didn't do it, but we keep acting in ignorance to the things they tell us, like blaming some Arabs with box cutters on 911, etc. All right, so they have the most holy site. The Dome of the Rock is on King Solomon's temple site, so they can't really rebuild the temple until they get rid of that dome. So they'll have to come up with some trick and blame it maybe on America, and that will make the entire Islamic Muslim world hate America and call us devils even more. During President Clinton's trip to Jerusalem to sign the peace accords with King Hussein of Jordan and Mr. Rabin of Israel, newspaper accounts seem to be giving King Hussein more status than Mr. Arafat as a representative of the Palestinian people. So they're trying to get the Palestinian people to have some territory set aside and be part of the country of Jordan. And so they do want the Palestinian people and the other Arabs as workers, slaves, so to speak, different kind of industrial, manufacturing, agriculture areas. And they'll be controlled by the elite Zionist, Pharisee, Shepherditic, Akhenazi, Hebrew-type people into the Kabbalah and worshiping the demon gods. So it seems. In fact, it was reported that King Hussein of Jordan would, as part of the peace accords, be given control of the Muslim holy sites in Jerusalem. How this fits in with the report of the Vatican administration of the Old City. Turning the page here. All right, let's see what I got here. Got a book falling apart. Is not yet clear for anyone in doubt as to the biblical prophecy about the city of Jerusalem. At the end of this cycle, I list the following quote from the New Testament, the King James Version. Here's a quote from the Bible. This scripture is a prophecy of the two witnesses who teach in Jerusalem in the year 2060, 800 years ago. Days just prior to the great earthquake which destroys that city at the end of this cycle. The two witnesses are slain after their work, they're murdered, is completed. The people in Jerusalem at that time hate them. That's Revelation 11-8. So here's the quote. They're talking about the end times, what's going to happen in Israel. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of that great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. Jesus was crucified. So part of the prophecy is all of these goings on in the Middle East. The ultimate end, when they pull the trigger and do whatever they're going to do, Israel is to be destroyed. And apparently they're controlling the United States and countries all over the world. And they have the microwave weapons and so many other weapons and mind control and propaganda and artificial intelligence. They'll be controlling the whole world through these controlling centers in Britain, in France, in Germany, in America, in Brazil, in Canada, the whole world, Argentina, South Africa, North Africa, China, whoever they don't nuke and kill, apparently, according to prophecy. But apparently it's supposed to be a huge thing, like a nuclear holocaust or something, taking out more than half of the people on the planet. And they plan on doing it. So as prophecy says, if you don't believe in prophecy, a lot of prophecy has come true. So it doesn't sound like Jerusalem is a very good place to be right now, especially for our servicemen who have not had a choice in the matter. If the Catholic representatives in that council, in which Prime Minister Perez of Israel is a member, even knew their own holy book, they would not consider sending any administrative group to Jerusalem. So if our leaders, even the religious leaders, knew the Bible, knew this stuff that anybody can go look up, read Revelation, they know what the prophecy is, they know about the world destruction, they would not be putting all these pieces of this big world order chess game into place. But they are. When Dr. James Tabor, in his faxed article to Gardner Ted Armstrong, said, clearly the old mother harlot is stirring again. So apparently through history, the evil forces, the Satan himself, or the Lucifer the prince, these fourth dimensional beings, when they die, they get reincarnated again and again. And apparently at this particular cycle, the Lucifer, Satan entity, and other entities are supposed to reincarnate into our world, and the people in the secret societies and the mystery religion of Babylon, the whore of Babylon, the harlot of Babylon, the pagan religion, the witchcraft, Kabbalah, magic. When these people reincarnate into this cycle, they're going to bring all this about. And they know who and what they are. They're not worried about death. They know when they leave to go back into the fourth dimension. The only people who do not know this are many of we the people. We haven't read the Bible. We haven't listened. We haven't studied. We haven't looked into this. We hadn't had any clear thinking. The mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. Mystery Babylon the Great. It's in the, referring to the book of Revelation, chapters 17 and 18. So according to this article, I decided to review chapters 17 and 18 to refresh my memory. And that is where I'll leave off on this article, so that you and I can go get a Bible and look up Revelation chapter 17 and 18. And the book of Revelations is the last book in the Bible. They call it a book like the book of Daniel and the book of John and the book of Luke. That's the New Testament. So at the end of the New Testament, the last book, only about 15, 16 pages, is Revelation. And some prophet, John, in a cave, had a spiritual visitation and was told all the things that were going to happen in our future. And it looks like that future's now. Thank you for watching my video, Rick Miracle Reporting.